All right, folks. Today the Lord gave me a scripture that has been so misinterpreted. Again, this morning in my prayer time, I asked the Lord, what do you want to show me? He showed me 2 Thessalonians 2. Towards the end of this video, we're going to have a little breakdown of 2 Thessalonians 2. But before we do, I want you to watch this video.
The director of the FBI, the man in charge of getting to the bottom of Russian collusion in the American election, fired. Is this a new Watergate?
That Russian officials and even Vladimir Putin ordered a cyber campaign to help President Trump. But one thing that they've been struggling to find is the issue of collusion, whether there has been any so far between Russian officials and Trump officials, because there are a lot of leads and a lot of questions that they have yet to answer.
And obviously, they have made clear publicly that the FBI is investigating potential collusion between President Trump's campaign during the 2016 presidential race and any sort of collusion with suspected Russian operatives, Anderson.
The FBI did not want to pursue leaks. They thought the most important part of the story was the probe into Russian collusion, possible collusion with the Trump campaign.
Ordering over the way that they've managed to screw up our political system, basically. I mean, this is all a direct result of the Russian interference in the election last year, which got Donald Trump elected, and which may not have resulted in 100% pro-Russian policies across the board, but which has certainly caused so much upheaval and consternation and chaos that, yes, the Russians are benefiting from it. So this is, I mean, and, you know, you put your finger on when you said this is surreal. I mean, the whole thing is, I mean, this is nuts. We've never had a president investigated for collusion with a hostile foreign power. We've never president fire the FBI director who was investigating him, and we've never had these bizarre scenes with the Russian president and the foreign minister laughing about it on that same day. I mean, this is off the charts crazy.
Sensitive investigations such as this.
That Russian officials and even Vladimir Putin ordered a cyber campaign to help President Trump. But one thing that they've been struggling to find is the issue of collusion, whether there has been any so far between Russian officials and Trump officials, because there are a lot of leads and a lot of questions that they have yet to answer.
And obviously, they have made clear publicly that the FBI is investigating potential collusion between President Trump's campaign during the 2016 presidential race and any sort of collusion with suspected Russian operatives, Anderson.
We need to push for the search for the truth. We need to push for a resolution for this, for the good of the country. We can't continue living with, you know, in this society where half the people, if not more, think this is an illegitimate president who got to power through collusion with the Russians.
With Comey out, who will take over the FBI, leading the investigation into the Trump team's potential collusion with Russia?
You mean impeachment proceedings?
Well, here. You know, I've said all along that he would lead us to impeachment, and he's doing just that. Every day, more and more is unfolding. I told you that I thought there was a Kremlin clan, and these were his allies. I had a resolution back in February that said it should be investigated for collusion. Everything that I know that I've been able to find out, if we do the investigations, the information is there. We're fiddling while Rome is burning. This president needs to be impeached. I believe that. I believe there was collusion. We need to get on with the business of doing real investigations. As a matter of fact, the press has been better on helping to unveil what is going on with this president and his allies than the Congress of the United States of America.
What happened with respect to Russia's interference in our elections, which we know they did that. All 17 intelligence agencies have confirmed that. And whether there was coordination, cooperation, collusion between the Russian government and the Trump campaign. And I don't believe at this point in time we can get to the answer to those questions unless we have a special prosecutor. And getting to the bottom of those questions is really important for two reasons. First, and most obviously, whether in fact the Trump campaign did coordinate with the Russian government. And there are obviously very significant implications associated with whether we determine they did or they didn't.
Presidential election and possible collusion between President Trump's campaign team and Russia.
There is no doubt that the Russians hacked our election in 2016.
Collusion.
Collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian government.
Collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia.
Putin and the Kremlin and be in collusion with them.
Here to investigate this possible collusion between the Trump team and Russia.
And possible collusion by Trump associates in that criminal action that threatens our democracy.
Of Russia election meddling and possible collusion between the Kremlin and Trump associates.
Collusion with a foreign power.
Between the Trump campaign and Russia.
The question is not whether Donald Trump actively encouraged the Russians and WikiLeaks to attack our democracy. He did. That is an established fact.
What do we make of all of this? Because as we've noted now for many, many years, and I think as Webster Tarpley coined the phrase, it's virtual flag terrorism. There's no real way to exactly know who's doing what to who.
That's true. I think we can get caught up more on the who's doing it rather than what is being revealed. And that's the entire strategy with the DNC leak, is to go, oh, it's Russian hackers. So don't look at any of the actual material here. Don't look at the things that we're actually doing behind the scenes, because it's Russians. And that's the strategy they're trying. The point here is that it is 100% open and established that people like Soros and groups like the Open Society Foundation are pulling strings and are pushing levers and trying to get you to react with rage, trying to pit you against your neighbor, trying to make you hate, that person down the street, rather than looking at people like the Soroses of the world. The question is, how are you going to respond to that? Are you going to play into that? Are you going to get into the rage cycle of the damn refugees and, Black Lives Matter protesters and those are the enemies? No, the enemies are the ones who are making this happen at the top.
Let's start here. Big lie, German große Lüge, is a propaganda technique. The expression was coined by Adolf Hitler when he dictated his 1925 book, Mein Kampf, about the use of a lie. It is the use of a lie that is so colossal that no one would believe that someone could have the impudence to distort the truth so infamously.
It's pretty clear you won't admit that the Russians have engaged in cyber attacks against the United States of America, that you encouraged espionage against our people.
Große Lüge. All this was inspired by the principle, which is quite true within itself, that in the big lie there is always a certain force of credibility. Because the broad masses of a nation are always more easily corrupted in the deeper strata of their emotional nature than consciously or voluntarily. I'm going to repeat that. Because the broad masses of a nation are always more easily corrupted in the deeper strata of their emotional nature than consciously or voluntarily.
Say that having a conversation with those people is not productive.
Yes! Imagine.
Would you please have a conversation with me? What? Not shouting, not interrupting each other. Please tell me why I should join your political movement.
Legit question though, legit question. Yes, sir? Why did you come to a free speech rally if you had nothing to say?
I wanted to listen.
All right.
I wanted to listen to all sides.
Excuse me.
You've interrupted me 5 times so far.
I don't care.
This is our place.
These people. This is our space. Yours is on the other side of that goddamn fence. If you want to speak complacent and stand up for their right to speak freely, then you can go over there and stand with them.
I'm standing
not
right here.
So you're gonna stand right here. This is our spot, which is hate fucking free.
Last I was aware, this is the Boston Common.
The Boston Common is a hate-free spot. Do you understand that?
No, ma'am.
Do you?
No.
This is a hate-free spot. We are all here for equality, not for your white supremacy Nazi shit.
I'm not here for white supremacy.
So why are you here?
I'm here to talk.
You're here. No, you should be here for equal rights.
Why?
Why? Have you ever been oppressed?
Yes, ma'am.
No. I know. You're a white straight male. Am I correct? Am I correct? You're a white straight male.
When
have you been oppressed?
When?
Never.
When I was growing up in middle and elementary school.
You have not been afraid to go outside. You have not been afraid to do anything.
I have had the shit kicked out of me for being white. Good. So you advocate violence?
Yeah.
I got the shit.
And thus, in the primitive simplicity of their minds, they more readily fall victims to the big lie than the small lie. Große Lüge.
Oh, bullshit.
I don't want to see governmental control.
We see what you're doing.
I am not part deaf.
Why do you think you're better than others?
Huh? I'm not. I don't think that I'm better than other people. If anything, I think that I'm worse than other people.
Fucking hell on, get your moped, get the fuck out.
You just make zero sense, my dude. I don't understand.
That's cool.
I don't fucking
I'm here to try to talk about my opinion. Y'all are here to shout at me.
Why do you have an opinion? You shouldn't even have an opinion about this. Hate speech isn't an opinion.
I don't have hate speech opinions.
Treat people. What are you here for? Why
are you here?
I'm here to talk.
About what? What do you want to say?
About anything. I want to talk to y'all.
About what?
I want to see your view.
Stop talking about how you were beat up as a kid. No one gives a shit. Say what you want to say. You're right here. There's cameras. Let's go.
Pussy, you never got laid. We understand that. Get out of here. No one cares that you're pissed or minorities because of that. Nazi fuck.
I'm not a Nazi.
Are you sure?
Yes. I'm not a Nazi.
Just apologize for
I
that.
strongly, in the most severe terms that I can.
Supporting the Nazi fucking ideology.
You just told me that this is a side for free speech. That's a side for Nazis. I'm on this side.
It's not hate.
What hateful thing have I said so far?
What the fuck do you
You're
want?
defending the alt-right side.
No, the alt-right is a bunch of racist supremacists.
What is your argument?
I don't have an argument. I'm here to talk to y'all. I want to get your opinion.
No, what the fuck do you want to say?
Huh? I don't want to say anything.
You were just
Because the broad masses of a nation are always more easily corrupted in the deeper strata of their emotional nature than consciously or voluntarily. And thus, in the primitive simplicity of their minds, they more readily fall victims to the big lie than the small lie, since they themselves often tell small lies in little matters, but would be ashamed to resort to large-scale falsehoods.
So I think that this is such an unprecedented situation. We've never had a foreign government trying to interfere in our election. We have 17 intelligence agencies, civilian and military, who have all concluded that these espionage attacks, these cyber attacks, come from the highest levels of the Kremlin, and they are designed to influence our election.
It would never come into their heads to fabricate colossal untruths, and they would not believe that others could have the impudence to distort the truth so infamously, even though the facts which prove this to be so may be brought clearly to their minds.
Do you think Russia's an issue?
I think it's a big issue. Yeah.
Where are you seeing the ties and where are you seeing the problems with Trump and Russia?
I see that he's giving them information that he shouldn't be.
Where do you see that?
On the news.
Which information are you talking about?
The information that he gave that the...
what do we want to impeach Trump for?
Corruption, collusion with the enemy.
Which enemy?
Russia, of course. I mean, it's so obvious.
So the news is saying Russia isn't real.
After Fox broadcast their erroneous nonsense, they just move on.
But the story that they were pushing, the Russia story, they said it pretty much isn't non-existent.
No, that's Fox's take on it. That's not the truth.
Did you hear about the CNN stuff that came out, though? That was all about how Russia's a made-up story? And then did you hear about the 17 agencies? It was actually only 3. It was all from the Obama administration. They're not working for the government anymore?
Yeah, I heard something about it this morning. But basically, Trump is a danger not only to the country, but to the world.
It's an interesting turnabout that then now they try and claim, it's all just fake news. I think you know that's not true.
What did you think of the videos that came out of CNN this week that show that Russia is basically like a rating story and they're kind of pushing that narrative?
Well, just because it's a rating story doesn't mean there's not truth to it. You know,
Dan Jones called it a nothing burger.
It's not a nothing burger.
They will still doubt and waver and will continue to think that there are maybe some other explanation. For the last 9 months, all y'all have heard is Trump, Russia, and Russian collusion, and Trump and Russian collusion, Russian interference in the election, Trump and Russia, and Trump is a racist, and Russian interference. And all the while, nobody's looking at the real criminals: Obama, Hillary, Loretta Lynch, James Comey, Susan Rice, all these congressmen, liars, all of them. They've been like a parrot. They keep pushing the same parrot narrative For the grossly impudent lie always leaves traces behind it, even after it has been nailed down, a fact which is known to all expert liars in this world and to all who conspire together in the art of lying. Adolf Hitler, Mein Kampf, Volume 1, Chapter 10. Thus, according to Hitler, the big lie was a propaganda technique typically used by the Jews, is what he said. The principle is sometimes translated and abbreviated as the pithy saying, make the lie big, make it simple, keep saying it, and eventually they will believe it.
His initial response was important too, because it gave fuel to hate groups.
We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides.
Failing to specify which groups he was talking about and adding many sides to his condemnation actually sent a signal to the most vile of hate groups. Here's why words matter. This is how one of the most vile, racist, neo-Nazi leaders interpreted President Trump's comments. Here's what he said to his readers. Trump's comments were good. He didn't attack us. He just said the nation should come together. Nothing specific against us. When asked to condemn, he just walked out of the room. Really, really good. God bless him. Now, England is not the only one who is racist and speaking up for Trump. David Duke, the former head of the KKK, also spoke up, trying to align himself with Donald Trump again.
We are determined to take our country back. We're going to fulfill the promises of Donald Trump. That's what we believed in. That's why we voted for Donald Trump, because he said he's going to take our country back.
In the past, President Trump has disavowed David Duke and what he stands for. But the president's vague initial comments actually gave fuel to the white supremacy fires, if you will. Their movement took it this way. Hail victory. And to everyone, know this, we are now at war and we are not going to back down. There will be more events soon.
One issue with him, what do you hate about him the most?
The fact that it's 2017 and we're having to protest against Nazis.
I'm here standing up against racism and the Nazis.
The way we dealt with them in World War II. Kill them. There's no other way.
Racists go home! Racists go home! Racists go home!
Captain America punches Nazis. Indiana Jones punches Nazis. My grandfather went and killed Nazis in Normandy, and he was a f***ing hero. So why is it any f***ing differently now that the Nazis are actually on our f***ing doorsteps?
Racists go home! Racists go home!
Listen, everyone is saying, oh yeah, you can't listen to CNN no more. You can't listen to the news anymore because it's all fake. Bull crap. It wasn't fake before, so why is it fake now?
The Russia story has kind of died down on those sites.
Only because we're on the racism thing now.
Yeah, exactly.
Make the lie big, make it simple, keep saying it, and eventually they will believe it. The phrase was also used in a report prepared during the war by the United States Office of Strategic Services in describing Hitler's psychological profile. His primary rules were never allow the public to cool off. That means always have a crisis going, always. And always parrot the same thing, Russian collusion. Never admit a fault or a wrong. Can you say Hillary Clinton and Obama, Loretta Lynch, James Comey? Never concede that there may be some good in your enemy. Never leave room for alternatives. Never accept blame. Concentrate on one enemy at a time and blame him for everything that goes wrong. People will believe a big lie sooner than a little one. And if you repeat it frequently enough, people will sooner or later believe it.